Hello, happy to meet you all again in the Kadegalata storytelling channel. Hope you like my new background. I have been constantly searching for some good background for my storytelling videos. Then I thought storytelling under a tree would be the apt thing. Maybe I'm not sitting under a tree, the tree is behind me, but still telling stories in a natural surrounding would be the best thing. Hope you like it. So we'll move to the folktales of India. In the folktales of India, so far we have covered stories from the northeastern part of India, stories from the western part of India. We have also seen story from Madhya Pradesh, which is at the center. From last time we have been covering stories from the northern part of India, and we are done with Punjab. Today we will go and explore one of the most beautiful states, and that is Himachal Pradesh. Himachal Pradesh occupies a region of scenic splendor consisting of snow-clad mountains, deep gorges, thickly forested valleys and large lakes. The word Hima means snow and Achal means slope in the language Sanskrit. The city Simla, which is its capital, remained as the summer headquarters of Britishers. Himachal Pradesh is well known for its handicrafts. Shawls, carpets, and woodwork are worth appreciating. Pashmina shawls from Himachal Pradesh is famous all around the world. Music and dance reflect its cultural identity. People through their folk music and dance they entreat their gods during local festivals and on various other religious occasions. Now we will move to the story. High up on the snowy mountains of Himalayas, there lived a small, cute-looking Himalayan bear. Have you seen a Himalayan bear before? A Himalayan bear's fur would be completely black in color. Okay, just before this story happened. Okay, it would be completely black in color and it would be very shiny. So the Himalayan bear in our story, okay, its name is Bablu. Bablu used to be a very naughty bear. He could not sit in one place idle at all. He would be always running around in the forest. He would be climbing from one tree to another. And he would be playing with the snowballs, throwing it around. And Bablu was loved by everyone in the jungle, most of all by his mother. And his mother would be always running behind Bablu, shouting and telling him, "Oh Bablu, please don't climb up the tree. You would fall down. Oh Bablu, don't play with the snow. You will fall sick. Oh Bablu, don't run. The forest floor is slippery." Like any other mother, Bablu's mother would be very concerned about her son. But Bablu would be always finding new things to do without listening to a single word his mother would say. So one night, after a long tiring day, Bablu's mother immediately slept off as soon as she lay down. But Bablu could not sleep at all. He was lying on his back and he was admiring the beauty of the moon that was creeping through a small hole in his den. As he was looking at the moon, suddenly he wondered and he started waking up his mother. "Oh, mama, get up, get up, get up. Just look at the moon. The sun is missing. Where did the sun go?" His mother was very sleepy. She grunted and went back to sleep. But Bablu could not lie down at all. His head was buzzing with a lot of questions. Where did the sun go? The sun is missing. And who's Moon's mother, by the way? And why I'm not sleepy when Mama is sleepy? Like this, his head was buzzing with a lot of questions. When, where, and why? He could not lie down any longer, and he slowly and silently he slipped out of his den. The full moon lit up the full forest and it showed the way to Bablu through the deep dense forest. Bablu started going through the deep dense forest. The sounds of the cricket, the insect which you will be able to hear in the night, right? The sounds of the cricket and the sounds of the wind filled the forest. As Bablu was going through the forest, suddenly his eyes fell on the tall deodar trees. Deodar trees are those tall coniferous trees which can grow up to 60 meters high. It is something like a Christmas tree. I mean, it looks somewhat like that. Okay, they are tall, very tall trees. So Bablu's eyes fell on the tall deodar trees, and for Bablu, It looked as if the tip top of the tree, okay, the tip top of the tree, it looked as if the tip top of the tree was touching the moon. Suddenly, Bablu got a brilliant idea. His eyes shone, his hair stood on end in excitement, and he felt like dancing. It had always been Bablu's dream to do something, to do anything that would make the whole world sit up and see him. Something he always wanted to do something that would make the whole bears tell, "Wow, look at Bablu! He has made all the Himalayan bears very proud." So he always wanted to do something very special. So, can you guess what would have got into Bablu's head when he looked at the tall deodar trees that would make his dream of fame come true? Any guesses? You know what he thought? He thought, I will climb up the deodar tree, I will go to the tip top of the tree, and when the wind makes the tree sway, and when the tip top of the tree, when it touches the moon, I'll just take one leap and I will land on the moon. I'll be the first person to land. I'll be the first bear to land on the moon. Which will make my mother very proud, which will make all the Himalayan bears very proud. And scientists with big fat telescopes who see me dancing on the moon. Newspapers will cover my pictures and they will interview me. Bablu Bear was imagining all these things when a small fly went into Bablu Bear's nose. Oh! And just then Bablu Bear realized that those were all his imagination and those were all his dreams. But he said, I'm going to make all my dreams come true. Taking a deep breath, he started to run very fast as he could, till he reached the place where there were tall deodar trees. The deodar trees were indeed very tall, but were they as tall as they could touch the moon? No, right? I wish there were some intelligent children like you who could have told this to Bablu. But poor Bablu started climbing up the deodar tree. As he was climbing, he was just imagining and he was just dreaming about how he would get into the moon and how his mother and his bears, his friends, would be very proud of him. As he was climbing, it was getting colder. The highness and the altitude, okay, as he was climbing up and up, it made his head spin. And he also observed that the branches of the tree was becoming thinner and thinner. But finally, he reached the tip top of the tree, and when he thought of taking a leap, when he looked at the moon, he saw that the moon was very, 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 very far away, as it had been from the ground. Just then, he realized how foolish he was, and he remembered what his mother used to tell him always. His mother always used to tell him, "Oh, Bablu, you always start doing things, then only you think. You should always think several times before you do anything." And he realized how true his mother's words were. He felt very sorry that he had escaped from the den without telling his mother, and quietly he thought of getting down from the tree. And as he was climbing down, suddenly there came a sound. Katak, katak. What happened? The thin branches at the top of the tree just broke under Bablu's weight, and Bablu fell on the ground. The moment Bablu fell on the ground, Bablu's mother was able to sense something went wrong. She got up and she saw that Bablu was not there. She searched for him in the den and she was really worried. Tears started dripping from her face and her voice shook. Trembling from head to toe, puffing and panting, she just ran through the forest calling for Bablu. As she was running, at a distance she saw the reddened forest floor. Okay, the forest floor was covered with snow. At a distance, she could see something, the forest floor being red in color. She just ran towards it, and there she saw poor Bablu lying unconscious in a pool of blood. His chest had been cut. Tears dripped, and she just leaned over him, sobbing. She didn't know what to do. Suddenly, something tickled her paws, and she just bent down to see what it was, and it was a silver thread. And she looked at the silver thread, and she just saw that the silver thread was coming from the moon. Bablu Bear's mother looked at the moon, and the moon smiled at Bablu Bear's mother, and it also winked as if it was trying to tell her something. Immediately, you know what Bablu Bear's mother did? She went, she took a needle from the deodorant tree, and she threaded the silver thread through the needle, and she started sewing Bablu Bear's chest. When the last stitch was put, Bablu Bear opened his eyes and he said, "Mama, I'm so sorry. I should have not done this." But Bablu Bear's mother's eyes were overflowing with tears of happiness, and she said, "Just don't worry, my son. Everything will be fine soon." By the time the news about this had spread across the forest, and all the bears and all the animals just came to see what had happened, and they were all thrilled to see a V shape, okay, in white color being stitched on Bablu Bear's chest. And with that, as I told you, the bears before they would be fully black in color, right? Himalayan bears. And when Bablu Bear, when he got this V shape, that white V shape on his chest, he looked very handsome, it seems. And all the bears were very thrilled to see it. And this news about his V shape on his chest spread across the forest, and all the bears, they came to see the handsome Bablu Bear. And Bablu Bear's dream of becoming famous also came true, and he was very happy to see that. And by the time, all the kutti Himalayan bears also started demanding, "We also need this kind of V shape on our chest too." Bablu Bear's mother was very kind, and she started sewing. She started getting more thread from the moon, and she started sewing more V shape on the chest of the Himalayan bears. All the bears were standing in a line, and Bablu Bear's mother was stitching very fast. At that time, Bablu Bear was enjoying all this. He was clapping his paws, and he was telling the story to everybody, to all the bears there. At that time, Bablu Bear realized that he had not thanked the moon, who actually saved his life. So when he saw up, he saw that the moon was just a thin slice. It was no more a full moon. It was just a thin slice. And Bablu Bear told his mother, "Oh, Mama, just look there. You have taken all the thread from the moon, and it has just become a thin slice." And Bablu Bear's mother also felt very sorry. Oh, I have taken all the thread from the moon. But the moon said, "Don't worry. I'll be back again after some days. At that time, I'll be again a full moon, and you can take more thread from me to make the V shape on the chest of the Himalayan bears." Like that, the full moon was back after some days, and Bablu Bear's mother again started taking the thread from the moon to stitch the V shape on the chest of the Himalayan bears. Even if you go now and see the Himalayan bear, you'd be able to see the white color V shape on the chest of the Himalayan bears. So, even today, when you see the moon size, when you see the shape of the moon being decreased, you can know that Bablu Bear's mother is stitching V shape on the Himalayan bear's chest. Is it right, children? Is that the reason for the decrease in the shape of the moon? No, right? I'm sure you all know the reason for the various phases of moon. Some days you'll be able to see a full moon, some day you'll be able to just see a thin slice of moon, and some days there'll be no moon at all, which we call it as new moon day, right? I'm sure you all know the reason for that, and I want you to write in the comment box the reason for the various phases of moon. So in the story, as I told you earlier, people, they created stories for giving explanation for the various natural, I mean, for the various observations they see in the nature. And this is one story which they created for explaining the various phases of moon. Okay, so this is how stories were created. When there was no science, people just observed the nature and they created their stories, and they created stories for explaining the various observations that they see in the nature, that they saw in the nature. And these stories actually paved way for scientific discoveries and inventions, right? Hope you like the story. Meet you all in another folktale soon. Bye.